So everyone knows Jordan Peterson's consortium has sparked a wildfire on Twitter and the internet with articles and questions, and everybody wants to know what's going on. But I had a bunch of people in the comment section of my video that I made, which thank you again for 100,000+ views. Thank you very much. A lot of people think that the WEF is just a bunch of people. It doesn't really have any power. One person even said we could just ignore them. And it seems like there's some people that don't understand the severity, the impact that the WEF can have and has had over the years. So I just wanted to go on a little journey with you as I'm going to play some clips and read some stuff from their website, just so you understand what's going on. This whole thing of the Great Reset, that's not something that conspiracy theorists have coined. That's something that Klaus Schwab himself has actually coined. And I believe he wrote a book about it as well. So this is actually a real thing. And I don't want to say they can do harm, but again, like I said in my last video, it doesn't quite seem like they have everybody in mind when it comes to good things happening for us, you know? So I'm just going to play some videos here. You're going to see a clip of Jordan Peterson. You're going to see a commercial from the WEF. Then you're going to see another clip of Jordan Peterson. Then I got another video from the WEF, a quick article from their website, and then a special guest of sorts. Basically, to just sum up the whole thing, I have a clip from one of Dave Chappelle's specials that really, I think, hits a good analogy home on the WEF and what they're doing with us, our emotions, our sensibilities. So let's just get into it. Coach Colin, you know what it is. Subscribe. All right, let's start with Dr. Peterson.
Really believe, truly, that maybe the planet should only have 500 million people on it, or 1 billion, in relative poverty, or 2 billion barely scraping by, because otherwise they're going to be wrecking everything, and, controlled by some top-down authority that makes bloody well sure that no one's consuming too much. And so when I look at ideas like that first assumption, the planet has too many people on it, it's like, I don't like to hear people say that, because when I hear that, I think, okay, buddy, who exactly are you thinking about getting rid of? Oh, well, it's not like that. It's like, yeah, it's like that.
It has to be like that.
It is absolutely like that. And
So the reason that I play this clip is because what Jordan does there is he asks a very good question. Like, he hears something and he asks a question. He goes beyond just hearing what they're saying, and he goes into questioning what's actually behind what they're saying. And I think that's something that we need to do in regards to what I'm going to play next. Hopefully it pops up here. Is this the one? Yes, it is. Let's go right here. So everybody knows about this little theory of owning nothing. So why play this? Well, it's because you have to look past what's being said. They're talking about, this rental economy and how much better it will be for everybody. And there's libraries that are already doing this, and it's helping us consume less. And look at this, it's less debt and less waste. And that's the upshot of it, right? But when someone mentions the upshot, what's the downshot? And then they say in maybe 50 years, you won't own anything. And they're saying that like it's a really good thing. But I don't know that it actually is. I don't know that actually is a good thing for us to have happen to us, where we don't own anything. Because when we go beyond what's being said, We then ask the question, who owns everything at that point? Because we're renting it from somewhere, and I assume the people that we're renting it from own the things. And now go a question beyond that. If I rent this microphone here, right? And there's some grand entity that oversees us all, to make sure we're not using up too much, to make sure we're getting that upshot that we were promised, right? What if I make a video like this and they don't approve of that video? What happens then? All of a sudden, I don't get to rent this. I don't get to rent the camera. I don't get to rent the computer. All of a sudden, I don't get to rent anything. But also, they're talking about not owning anything right up to your clothing. So I even get the shirt taken off my back if I step out of line, because every single place where you can rent things, right down the houses, they have parameters that you have to stay in. So what happens if you go outside those parameters? That's why ownership is so good. Because when you own something, you can do what you want with it. So when they bring up that whole thing of not owning anything, it's just, I don't know. In my mind, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because it does work for some people, usually, as Jordan Peterson keeps bringing up, from the top down. It works for the top, but not the people at the bottom. So now I go into this a little further. This is actually off their website. You can check it out. It's a WEF forum, or weforum.org. This is one of their predictions for 2030. They have a 2030 agenda. So it's all products have become services. I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or any clothing. Writes Danish PM Ida Inukin. I don't know. You know me. Shopping is a distant memory in the city of 2030, whose inhabitants have cracked clean energy and borrow what they need on demand. It sounds utopian until she mentions, and they even have this written, which is just wild, until she mentions that her every move is tracked, and outside the city live swaths of discontent, the ultimate depiction of a society split in two. Because that's eventually what would happen. Again, if you don't want to stay in the parameters, well, then you don't get to rent the things. And if you don't get to rent the things, well, we have all the resources, so you do whatever you want to do. You can be outside the Garden of Eden. Goodbye. Figure it out there. So, what else did I want to play for you guys? There was another video. And again, this is just to give a little window into, what could be with these people, because they don't just have an idea of things, They're kind of like it's almost like, if you knew a person and they were like, hey man, I think something bad's going to happen to your car. And you're like, what? What do you mean? My car? What's going to happen to my car? And they're like, yeah, I think something's going to happen to your car. And you're like, I don't know. I don't think so. Why are you saying that? I don't know. And then you leave and you come back in the morning and all your windows are smashed out. And they're standing there like, geez, I told you. You should have rented a car from me. See, here's the problem now. Now you got to fix this because you own it. If you just rented from me, you wouldn't have this issue. They're kind of like that demented friend. Wild analogy, wild comparison, but, tongue in cheek, of course. But let's go on to the next thing. This video here. Again, this is right off of their YouTube channel. This is to play on people's fears. I just have to say it outright. Peterson, how about no? And then the reason that I played that video there is because I wanted to play this video after. This is Jordan Peterson, and just something that he says is very telling. Again, if you can just start connecting things, if you can just start thinking beyond what you're seeing and start questioning why things are being played the way they are, why they're being depicted the way they are. A good thing that he said in another video that I just made was he's talking about how it's this delusional apocalypse vision that they're painting, right? So yeah, let me just play the Jordan Peterson.
Instead of scrabbling around in the dirt trying to get lunch, you know, and you're going to burn everything up around you to stay alive if you have to.
Right.
But if you got a bit of wealth and now you can think over, you know, maybe a 20-year period, which is quite the damn luxury, then you actually start being concerned about, you know, the quality, the aesthetic quality of the local environment. And so I was so excited when I found that data because I thought, oh, this is so cool. It means that we could have our cake and eat it too. We could work really hard to provide cheap, reliable energy, you know, at the lowest cost possible to the widest number of people worldwide. And the emergent consequence of that would be the whole planet would clean itself up. So wouldn't that be great? Because we could make our goal the eradication of absolute poverty, which we actually done pretty good at eliminating over the last 15 years, but we could really make that a goal. And then one of the consequences of that, inevitable consequences, would be a greener and healthier planet. And then you think, well, why aren't we doing that? And that's a question, all right.
So what that clip does to me, when we're talking about thinking past just what we hear, right? It's not just a podcast. There's questions to be asked. So he's right. He's like, why aren't they just doing that? Why isn't that just happening? And then to the other video that I played, why does there have to be a great reset in order for us to start making things better? We already know what's in the shits. We already know what's going poorly. Why can't we just start making that much better? Why do we have to have this great reset and now, you know, all of a sudden start walking in this ideal, this vision that they have for us? Why can't we just, like Peterson has already suggested, you know, have this vision of have this vision, this aim, as Dr. Peterson always talks about, this aim towards the highest good. Ask these questions that Dr. Peterson already put forward in terms of what they're going to be thinking about and talking about in this consortium of his, and just start moving towards it. Why does all of a sudden we have to have this reset of not owning anything and all this genome like work that they're doing? And if you don't know about that, go look into it. Why do we have to do all of this stuff that they see fit, that they're predicting? Why do we have to move into this way of living in order to have all of this bright green future? Why does it have to be like that? And I think that's the beautiful thing about what Dr. Peterson's talking about, is that it doesn't have to be like that. And we can just think of an alternative future that's not so apocalyptic, and we can just start moving towards it. There's no need, what he said in his recent tweets, there's no need to have everybody paralyzed by fear in order to get them to do what needs to be done. And for some reason, the WEF, when you look at those videos, when you go onto their website, when you check out what they're really talking about and what they really think is going to happen with us, like it's all terror, it's all doom and gloom. And the only thing that can save us is them and their vision for 2030. I don't know. And the last clip that I'll play is what all of this reminds me of. It's what they remind me of. It's basically my analogy of us and them. It's a clip of Dave Chappelle's comedy special. It's a special that he did. It was a great special. Absolutely amazing. And near the end of it, he talks about a story of a pimp. This gentleman's name was Klaus Schwab. No, I'm kidding. It was Iceberg Slim. And Iceberg Slim had an issue. He had a lady who was getting out of hand. She was getting too much independence. She was getting all riled up. She was getting hysterical. She was making things really tough for him to just operate in the background like he's used to doing. So he approached an older pimp and he asked him, what can I do to reel her in, to get her back under my control? And that man said,
oh, that's easy, Iceberg. All you have to do is beat that bitch with a coat hanger and then run her a bath and give her some pills. She'll be so grateful that you fixed her that she'll forget you were the motherfucker that beat her in the first place. That's some cold shit.
That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of that story. And the way he just said it so eloquently, it's like we get put through this terrible time. You know, I won't say which years were so terrible and restrictive, but I'm sure you can imagine some. And we get put through this terrible time. And that's just like getting the coat hanger. We get put into submission. We get battered around. We get pushed. We get locked up. We get the business. And then we get some pills. We get some luxuries. And we're so happy that things are getting back to normal that we almost forget that these people who are giving us this image of what could be, this majestic, amazing place where we don't own anything, we almost forget that they had such a huge hand in beating us down in the first place. I don't know. It was just some things after watching, this podcast, these videos, that stand-up special. They just all kind of connected to me. So I hope those who want to support what Dr. Peterson's doing, I hope they get a chance to. And other than that, I'm out.